I thought I would do something a little bit different to start because we won't see each other again before Halloween. So I went with a little bit of a red color. I was playing around a little bit with some green, and I think my screen is frozen. Oh, there we go. Hopefully this is streaming well. If it's not, please send me a comment so I know, so I can fix some things, okay? I kind of liked the blue. I thought it was pretty. It kind of went with my decor, which, speaking of which, I'm going to move you guys a little closer. I don't think it's quite necessary to have all of that. Okay. No, I always have to play with things as we get started just so that it could be the way I like it. So yes, we are here. We are doing our live Thursday. I love it. Right here on our fan page. I'm going to switch this back. We're going to get back to what it normally looks like. And I had posted earlier that we are talking about, not fixing my screen, but we are talking about coping. We're talking about ways in which, yeah, I'm still playing with it, ways in which to teach our kids how to cope. Because I'm going to tell you something. Our kids were not born knowing this skill all on their own. They weren't. And if we don't teach them, they're not going to know. They just won't. They won't know what to do when they have powerful emotions. They won't know what to do when things don't go their way. Why do you think toddlers tantrum? Why is that developmentally appropriate for toddlers to tantrum and scream and even hit people? It's because their brains are still developing. It's because they don't know any better. So no, they weren't born being able to just grow into this themselves. They need to be taught, which then takes us to my second point, and that's learning. I'm going to move this back over. I don't like that light switch on my wall. Usually it is not like that. And it's really bothering me. I think I need to cope with it. I think I need to accept it and move on, and maybe use some positive self-talk and say, it's really not a big deal. Because my message doesn't change if my light switch is in the video. But I think I just made myself happy. I fixed it. I used a little positive self-talk and I fixed it. It's what makes these lives so fun. You never really know what's going to happen. Could be green lights, red lights, light switches. I don't know. Even before this, I was playing a game with my kids, kids version of 20 questions. That was kind of fun. I wasn't expecting to play a game tonight, but I did, and it ended in a really good result. And I had to guess places like India. We had to guess cockroach. Anyways, it's fun. Playing helps people cope too. So back to learning. Learning. I wrote down a few phrases for learning. Ready? Learning is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Just because you say something to your kids to do something doesn't mean it's going to happen. Just because you show them how to do it once or twice doesn't mean they got it yet. Learning happens from us. Learning happens from us. If they're seeing you take your breaths like we have on my wall, and they're seeing you grow in your patience, and they're seeing you take a break from a situation or using positive self-talk, they're going to learn that that's how humans deal with times of stress. You're teaching them every single day, whether you're on the phone or you're talking face-to-face or you're on social media. The way you're managing your emotions is everything to them. They are taking that and running with it. Your actions are actually wiring their brain. because you're the one that they're looking to. You are the one that they look up to. You're their parent. What you're doing, how you're living your life, is what they're going to learn. My last phrase for learning. Learning is best done through showing and having fun. I could very easily tell my child, when you get upset, it's not okay to scream, and then leave it at that. Chances are he's not going to 100% internalize that, because we need to be able to replace the screaming behavior with another skill that is more appropriate than screaming. So screaming may be working for him currently, but what other things could help him get those powerful emotions out or under control? Is it doing 15 jumping jacks? Is it running outside around the house, which actually my kids did today for fun, no lie? Is it running around the house 10 times or seeing if they can beat their time with each lap? Is it listening to some music that makes them have a happy feeling inside? I can't tell you what it will be for your kids, because as I have coming up here, you're going to see it on the screen. Everyone's unique. You have to find what works for your kid, but you do have to replace the negative response for when they have those powerful emotions. And I'm talking anger, frustration, when they become annoyed, when they're jealous, when there's a combination of those feelings going on. You're teaching them. Let's replace this behavior and let's figure out how this looks, because you're going to show them and you're going to practice with them. And this can be fun, guys. I have worked with countless kids who absolutely 100%, wait for it, love role play. They love it. They get silly with it. They want to do more of it. They can't wait to find out what role they play in the next situation. Make up situations, even include some real life situations that your child has gone through, and troubleshoot those. Instead of yelling or throwing yourself on the ground or smacking me, this is what we're going to do instead. And as your child gets older, I'd say maybe 5, 6, I want you to allow them to pick coping skills. Allow them to pick the tools that will help them the best. You could present them with a list of options, because I don't expect or anticipate a child that young to know what coping skills are. I would hope that they would be coping in some regard, because they have taken your lead when you were going back to our my little rant there of they're learning from you. But work with them, because the more say they have in building a coping box, a coping corner, a calming space with their coping tools, the better it's going to work, because it's their ideas. I think it goes without saying, but us humans are more likely to accomplish a task when it's our idea. So give your child some power in that. Okay. So our next stop along our live event tonight is growth. I had to look at my notes because, I don't want to forget anything. And clearly, since I was talking about all the different things between the lights and the game and shifting my screen, I can go off on a tangent. And I don't want to miss anything, because I prepare for these lives and I work hard to make sure that I'm giving you tangible tips that you could actually take away from this live and start using tonight. So keeping myself on track. Keep in mind that when kids feel safe, that's when we're going to see the growth. See if I can point to it. That's when the growth will happen. When our kids feel secure and safe. Will your kids be perfect after your practice and your talks and the fun you have through role play? No. They will make mistakes. But guys, that's when the growth happens. There's my big finger. That's when the growth happens. They make a mistake and they learn from it and they move on using that new skill. Yes, that mistake may be repeated a few other times until they get it. It's okay. Growth is to be expected when mistakes happen, but it's only going to happen if your kids feel accepted by you. Do this through physical touch, hugs. Sometimes I pat my kids on the head. Sometimes they look at me like, what? But it's a positive way to just acknowledge your kids. Physical touch, hand on the shoulder, a hug from behind, lift them off the ground a few inches, and they think it's great. Physical touch helps the bonding process. It helps convey that you love them. Giving specific praise is another way to promote unconditional love, promote acceptance. If you say something like, oh, good job, it's so vague. Good job with what? Let's add some specifics to that. I see that when you fed the cats, you picked up the cat food that fell out of the bowl. I really appreciate you doing that. Whoa, that's a huge difference than good job. I don't know, what was I saying good job to? That you fed the cats? That you did it quickly? Or that you cleaned up the food after you fed the cats? Who's to know? But when you're specific, it shows your kids that you took the time to really notice what they were doing, and then you took time again to acknowledge it. Add in a little physical touch to that comment, and it's going to be good. You're going to see a smile on your kid's face for sure. The other way to continue the growth and to help your child feel accepted and loved unconditionally is through communication. Open communication. Make it okay to talk about any topic that needs to come up. I know for one of my kiddos, he does not want to be yelled at. And he says, I don't want you to yell at me. Okay, and we don't yell very often. Everyone yells, but we aren't huge yellers. But it is something that he perceives as really bad. He doesn't want that to happen. So there was a time he had to tell me something not too long ago. And he said, but are you going to yell at me? I said, I promise I won't yell at you. And I kept that promise. I made it okay for him to say what he needed to say. I accepted his communication with me. I accepted him. Of course, we ended with physical touch. And I praised him for talking with me. And I reiterated, I love you no matter what. You can talk to me no matter what the situation. And it was good. Do you think I've had to say those things since that time? Yes. I love you no matter what. You can talk to me about anything. Yes. And I give specific praise all the time. Do I yell sometimes? Yep. No one's perfect, guys. But keeping that trusting, open communication with your kids as often as possible will serve you well as you are working on this growth aspect. Oh, I went to pop it up. There it is. So those are the 3 ways to help kids feel safe and accepted and loved. Physical touch, specific praise, and open communication. It's good. It's good, guys. And remember, your kid is unique. I alluded to this a little while ago. I thought I was doing pretty good with my talking tonight. And what works for one may not work for another. In fact, there have been a handful of kids that I have worked with over the years who absolutely hated praise. Don't praise them. Their behavior will get worse. Don't praise them. A negative behavior may start. And we just learned that about them. It wasn't a bad thing, it was just who they were. So as you're processing the learning that your kids need to do and processing the growth and the mistakes and showing unconditional love, just keep that in mind. What works for one doesn't necessarily work for another, which also is tied into our next section: popular tools for coping. They're kid-friendly ways and they're effective ways to help kids regulate their emotions. Help them deal with those positive, excuse me, I said that wrong. Help them deal with those powerful emotions when things in life are not going well. Remember, we listed them: anger, it could be fear, annoyance, frustration. Things aren't going their way. How are they going to calm themselves down? That's where we're going next, guys. That's where we're going next. And actually, I believe it was in my closed group recently on Making a Difference Monday. We talked about being able to identify anger, helping your kids to identify what triggers them in anger, and also how to help them be in tune with what's going on in their bodies, within their five senses. How can they tell when they're starting to have a powerful response to something that's going on, whether it's anger or something else? And what can they do about it? So if you didn't see that yet, that was probably one of our best times spent together. It's in our closed group. Go check that out. But for now, overall coping, the things that I have seen firsthand work with kids. That's what I'm going to show you right now. So let's see. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. Hey, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to flop back over. Okay, hopefully you saw that. Yes, you did. I just saw it here. All right, I'm going to make this bigger. I cannot get rid of that. Look at this. I am having a hard time. So we may just need to end this live. Okay, that works. Let me bring this agenda up, get this scrolling to stop. Okay, cool. Hey, it should be going away now, but it's not. Oh, look, I did it. It just takes a little bit of finagling. Okay, before I leave, I want to tell you about, that's not working. Okay, about next Thursday's live. We were just discussing the most popular and effective coping tools. Well, along the lines of using coping tools that meet our kids' sensory needs is the sensory need, the sensory smell. We all interpret smells different. What I think is appetizing may not be appetizing for you. What makes me happy, a scent, may not make you happy. But there are scents out there that people will stand behind quite strongly and say, this is what calms me down. This is what helps me sleep. This is what makes me feel at ease. This is what helps my anxiety. And sometimes it's just a smell, because smell is so highly coordinated with our brain and our memories. So next week, we are going to have a guest on our show. Her name is Heather, and she is a Young Living representative. And Young Living, if you don't know, sells essential oils. So next week, she's going to be here, and I've asked her to select just a few of the oils that benefit adults and kids with calming, with emotions, and even with sleep. And she told me there's even kid oils. Awesome. And it's not just about smelling. From what I have learned so far, there's topical oils, yes, diffusing oils, and ingestible oils as well. So we're going to check that out. I'm going to get to learn a whole lot of new things as well. So I hope you're there, and I will be adding pictures and advertising for it throughout the next week. All right. So until then, I hope you have a